Who's ahead? Who's behind, Sahil?
David, the standout surprise of the second quarter fundraising was Pete Buttigieg, the little-known mayor of South Bend, Indiana, who raised nearly $25 million in the second quarter. Now, he's been up and down in the polls. He's not a top three candidate in most polls. In many polls, he's not even in the top four, but he has impressed a certain set of Democratic donor, largely on the coast, largely wealthy, who believes, that he has the right message to carry this through if he is the nominee. So he's a standout focus, and others like Joe Biden are raising a lot of money. He's burning through a lot of money. Bernie Sanders is also raising quite a lot of money, burning through a lot of money. Elizabeth Warren, very interestingly, raised an enormous amount of money while refusing high-dollar fundraisers. And so if she succeeds with this, if she carries her campaign through without holding fundraisers and still manages to raise the kind of money you need to be a successful candidate, that could really change the way campaigns work going forward.
Let's go back to that burn rate for a second, because that did strike me. As you say, Bernie Sanders burning the most. Kamala Harris is burning through money pretty fast as well.
Right, and she has raised quite a bit of money as well. She's burning through a lot of it. This is going to be one of the big questions going forward. How much money are candidates spending? Elizabeth Warren, for instance, has hired a huge staff in the early races. She's invested a lot in the ground game early on in the belief that it'll pay off, that she can help get their help to craft these important policy proposals, to enlist volunteers in the important states. So I think that's going to be one of the important things to see, who's burning through money, because as you know, David, once the money runs out, candidates have nowhere to go, they can't travel, and they end up having to drop out. So this ends up being one of the first things that winnows the field, and this is a very large field that needs some winnowing.
Speaking of Kamala Harris, you have a piece out now on the Bloomberg talking about her new proposal on drug prices, which I found was very interesting, in part because, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds a little bit like what President Trump was talking about by executive order, tying it in part to what foreign countries pay for it.
It is a little bit like what President Trump has talked with regards to Medicare drug prices. Kamala Harris wants to do that for drug prices across the board in terms of what's paid by Medicare, by Medicaid, by private insurance. And what she is proposing to do is set a so-called fair price for prescription drugs on the basis of an average of what other OECD countries have for that. So that's her plan, and if drug companies raise their prices beyond that level that HHS sets, then she's going to tax those proceeds at 100% and send the money back to consumers in rebates.